when I got into this, it was more about activism, like, great, these miners all over the world are doing this, and, they're going to pay their rent with it. Because people ask me, wow, you must be a millionaire, because you have, or gazillionaire, because you got in when you were getting paid when Bitcoin was $160. Well, at the time, it was all about using it. It wasn't about hoarding it like people are doing now, treating it like a stock where, I just wanted the investment to go up. At the time, it was going to supplant the existing banking systems, and everybody was going to start using it for that until the fees went up. So, speaking of fees, let's talk about that, because that's how miners get paid, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that, Jack? Tell us how you get paid.
Yeah, so when one person wants to send an amount of coin to another person, there is a tax on that transaction, and they're basically paying the network to perform a secure transaction for them. And the fees are pretty nominal. It's usually a small percentage of what you're sending, and it's usually a lot better than Western Union.
So let's say there's just say there's a million nodes out there, and the one transaction goes through all of those nodes. Does that fee get split by all those miners, or how does it work? Oh, the miner that actually gets the award gets all the fees.
Yeah, well, or the pool, right? If it's a pool of miners, and then based on how many shares you get, you get a breakdown of that.
Who handles all that computation?
The people that engineer the mining pools, and they take a 1% fee usually, somewhere in that range. And that's a pretty cool, that's a cool industry. And that's something that, grew into a $1 billion industry since the initial Bitcoin boom. And now there's things like NiceHash where you don't even have to mine, and you install software on your computer. They determine what the most economic thing to mine is, and then you get paid a flat rate, so you're not making nearly as much as if you're learning, but it's also something that's plug and play, which a lot of people are looking for.
And he touched up on NiceHash. I don't use NiceHash. I mean, I did when I first. I think it's one of those crutches when you first start out, because it's so easy and it switches algorithms for you. But I think as you go further, you're probably going to move away from NiceHash because you see that your rewards aren't the best. But on the other hand, if you do want to be paid in Bitcoin, I know there is a new pool called Mining Pool Hub, which you can do auto switch. So basically, you can switch what algorithm you want to be paid in. But if you go to NiceHash, they pay you in Bitcoin. So you can technically mine Bitcoin with GPU. You're not mining Bitcoin. What you're doing is you're just selling your hash power, and they're paying you in Bitcoin. So you can technically still mine Bitcoin with GPU instead of ASICs if you want to get away from the ASICs.
But you don't find that it's as lucrative that way?
Well, you're going through a third party. They got to make some money. They're
right.
a for-profit company, so it's not like they're doing you a favor. They're selling, cloud mining to other people, so they have to make some sort of money from it. So you're not getting the same thing as if, let's say you're mining Ethereum for them. If you went and you downloaded Claymore and just were mining Ethereum straight to your computer, you would probably get a little bit more rewards than you would through NiceHash, because they're taking a percentage, which is higher than the fee of the pools.
Right. That makes sense, because I also, in the beginning, when ant miners was the thing or just coming out, I invested in a meetup, an Arizona meetup, that they were going to put together, some machines in mine. So I gave them $500, and then the price went down, and then they said they couldn't be profitable anymore. So basically, I lost that. And then later, I went into another mining pool that was bigger with more machines, and like the ones that are out there now, where you can just pay and monthly or upfront and be in theirs. And basically, I lost. That company went out of business too, and I lost a Bitcoin at that point. Was probably worth about $1,000 now. Of course, that's a lot more money that I lost. So I was leery to get into any more of these pools, to tell you the truth. When Bitcoin is at 20,000 like it was in, December, of course, when you get 12.5 Bitcoin every time the thing, cashes in, that's significant. But when back then it was 160, so of course, or even 1,000 is. I heard recently somebody say that Bitcoin had to be 7,000, which is about where it's at right now, in order for, their mining operations to be profitable. Do you guys, obviously, you're not mining Bitcoin, but you must have some target values also that you need in order to make money.
A lot of people will look at their like per day income at current market prices, and people will advise against that because it can be very discouraging if you have $1,000 GPU and it makes like $3 a day. But I don't look at the daily earnings so much. I more try to look at the market and how it's growing and staying on top of new technology. That to me is really like more important.
So you're in it for the long haul, basically. You're looking at this as an over time kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I started mining on like a personal gaming computer, and every piece of equipment that I can get my hands on, I keep wanting to learn more of the process. So I may end up wanting to do development and more into the software side of things also.
Great.
Yeah, I would say that for like as a word of advice for people, I would say to completely, if you go to what to mine or you're using the calculator for, it's like he said, the price fluctuates. Something that you could have been mining months ago was like 80 cents worth, could be worth $300-$400 today. So I would go with units like of the coin. So excuse me. So if you can get like a lot of units a day, that's way better than getting 0.001 Bitcoin. Because, yeah, Bitcoin can travel to 20 again, but the percentages between the price now and 20,000 is not going to be as high as, let's say, you get a coin that's not even worth a penny, and then it goes to, like, 20 cents. And a lot of people, strike things like that when they get a project that first came out, and they're able to get 1,000 units a day. And then by the time it gets popular, you've already amassed so many that you basically mooned it. So I think that that's really more important, is to get units versus looking at the USD, because the USD price is going to fluctuate every single second almost.
Yeah, exactly. And people new to this, they don't realize that. So, of course, I have people that are new literally asking me, when's it going to go up again? I'm like, give me a crystal ball. I mean, this is the whole thing. If you've been in it since day one, you watch the fluctuation, this is a new technology. It's going to be 10 or 20 years before anybody really understand, if they could ever figure out what's going on, because there are going to be millions of coins one day. Excuse me. So when you talk about, you mentioned a wallet. Last week we talked about a wallet and how to create a wallet. So from a mining standpoint, I know in the day when we were doing it, we used to have the major wallets. We were in Mt. Gox. We were in, Bitstamp. All these people, we had wallets in when we were mining, and our coins went in there. And, are you taking your coins and putting them into cold storage now? And if so, how do you hold your coins or your wallets? What are you using? Because, that's security is a big issue.
I use a Nano Ledger, which is, I think, the most popular wallet to use.
That's a hard one. It's
a hardware wallet, and I highly recommend it. But the core wallets that are created by each coin that comes out, I like the core wallets as well, especially if it's going to be a coin. I mean, this might be a little bit ahead of the listeners, but if it's like a master node or a secure node, you'll only be able to do master nodes or secure nodes on core wallets, because you have to store the entire blockchain, and the hardware wallets are just cold storage, so you're not actually online with the coins.
Can you mention some names of those wallets, like the master and the secure?
So, for instance, I mine this project that I'm into. I may be saying it wrong. It's Ubiq, UBIQ, and they have a wallet called the Pyrus. So basically, you download this Pyrus wallet, and that's how you would transfer. But most of the core wallets will communicate with your Nano, your hardware wallet, where you can connect them to each other and transfer them through each other without any kind of risk.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think the type of wallets he's talking about are ones that will have to basically download the blockchain anytime you open it. So you could deposit money in there, close it, leave it for a couple months, and then when you want to access that money, you might have to wait 30 minutes or something to download the blockchain again. I know Monero's wallet is like this, and that's a pretty secure and popular one. Daedalus is another one that is like that, where your initial download might be 4 or 5 hours depending on your computer, because you have to download the public ledger. But those are the most secure and popular ones for a Windows system or something. But I also have a Nano Ledger. It's a very good device.
Great. Okay, so just in mentioning between the two of you, some of the words you've used that I think the listeners might be interested in knowing about. When you mention farm, that means, Dan, you have a number of pieces of equipment that you're, keeping in a location that is basically called a farm, right? Is that the terminology?
Yeah, usually. So, I'm sorry. Usually
Have some water.
we build rigs, and each rig will have a certain amount of pieces of equipment on it. I basically like to make 8-card rigs because I find them the most stable. We have done 12 and 13, but I don't find the stability as well. So yeah, a farm would be all of your rigs put together in one place or multiple places.
And when you do that, are you just is it all of that power is being used at the same time to get one reward, or are they all working individually on different coins?
So it depends on the operating system you use. Some operating systems will allow you to split up the card. So you have 2 manufacturer of cards, NVIDIA and AMD. So depending on if you have AMD or NVIDIA, you'll use a different type of software like Claymore or DTS,
Phoenix Miner,
just any kind of software that's actually mining it for you, that's connecting you to the pool, and you can have you can either have a bunch of cards on different algorithms, or you can have a rig on a different algorithm, or you could put all your rigs on one algorithm. It really, it's like whatever you believe in or whatever you want to do. The system we usually like to have is we have a couple of rigs that are just staying on one algorithm for a certain period of time, and then we have a couple of rigs that free float. And when some new project comes out that we believe in, we either donate hash power because we believe, they could be not even on an exchange yet because they're not worth anything. But if we believe in the project, we're gonna mine it just to get the coins and to support the network.
Awesome.
Yeah, there is a cool kind of creative aspect to it. Like, you're not just building machines to turn on and go. Like, you are connecting with these networks of real people that are working on real projects that, like, one of the more fun things to do is to read the press releases and see, like, what new technologies are coming out. And a lot of times, like any business, these things go under, the CEO disappears, but a lot of the technology is, really groundbreaking. And so I don't think the negative side of it really takes away from it that much.
That's the fun part for me, too. I mention that to people. It's like, not even I didn't realize on the mining side it was the same. But for me, as looking at what coins to invest in, or I'm excited about being able to look at the technologies and see what they're doing. Because I liken it to the internet, in the 90s when that was happening and people were putting websites up. You didn't really have a way to find the website or tell people what your website was. But now there's so many ways to find out what these new technologies are and what people are doing and how the industry's changing and what's going to happen in the future. And I always say that this is the future. What do you think about that? I mean, how do you feel all this is going to change? Most people here in New York, what I've found is they're interested in the blockchain technology more than they're interested in the whole, coin or token. Well, I understand the banks, of course, they're going to be interested in just doing private blockchains. But I mean, in general, it seems like people are more enthusiastic about how the blockchain is going to change the world. When, to me, the blockchain is, a general, it's a ledger. It's about the people that are running the blockchain or who's doing what and creating technology that's going to really shift and change the world. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest financial innovation since the stock market was created, but nobody is alive from when the stock market was created, so no one has a reference point. It's just this thing that we grew up with, and people are really starting to notice now. I mean, every huge bank is sending research guys to crypto meetups to try to figure out what people are doing. They're all trying to put desks together right now. They're scrambling, and it's exciting and really cool to see what this industry is going to turn into, because it does have a chance to really make like finance, investing, and managing your personal finances at home. It makes that a possibility, which is like groundbreaking and a pain point for a lot of people worrying about like, where's my retirement money? Like, how am I going to invest this? But like having the ability to do things like that securely at home is really revolutionary.
And I also I really like where this is going with the decentralization aspect, and I really believe in the projects that stay core to that they'll do whatever, like XMR Monero, Bitmain came out with a machine. They said, we don't want ASICs. They forked off it within like 14 days. They were very vocal. The lead dev, Fluffy Pony, which is Ricardo, he's amazing. He's all about the community. He listens to what the community said. And I like projects